Welcome to the Methodical Muse podcast. I am your host, Christine Curtis, your Methodical Muse, and I hope you're doing well. I'm going to set a warning for this episode. Again, this is a purpose project, not necessarily a passion one. Vulnerability on this level isn't necessarily my strong suit. Check that. Isn't my comfort zone. I think being vulnerable in comfortable spaces is a strong suit of mine. I have no problem sharing and wearing my heart on my sleeve. But this conversation is a little different. This literally was a conversation through my meditation with God. And I think it's going to be a little difficult to digest what I'm saying. But I want you all to hear my heart and hear God's heart too. I think it's an important conversation to have and an important message to share, because I think it puts in perspective how our actions and decisions actually shape our experience here in this life. So here we go. Episode 10. What's your equity? I had no plans to take that route that specific morning. In fact, I almost talked myself out of walking altogether this morning. It was cold, and honestly, I just wanted warmth and quiet. But as it often happens, when God is up to something, I get a unction, so I went anyway. I saw a familiar face, a displaced man I hadn't seen in a while. We'd spoken before, and I usually check in with him when I can. So I greeted him. He told me that it was his birthday. It's January 1st. I know his birthday. And then it made me pause. So I asked if he wanted anything from Whole Foods, which is something I normally ask him. And as always, he said black coffee, nothing else, just that. And in normal procedure, I always do more than just black coffee. It's usually black coffee with a couple of dollars so that he can get something throughout the day. So I started walking, thinking that was the end of this conversation I had with him, until something in my spirit said, no, we're going to give him $20. Granted, it's not usually $20 that I give him, but it's something. So today, it was 20. Fine. I didn't question it. I just nodded internally, acknowledging what I heard, whether it be my subconscious or Holy Spirit saying to me, and I kept walking. And I passed another man, another displaced man. And I heard again, give him 10. I was like, okay. And at first it jolted me a bit, mainly because one of the things in my walk that I try to do is discern whether or not I'm hearing God's voice, or is that me, my subconscious, my flesh? Because of course, in my mind, it's supposed to be equal. If I'm giving $10 to one, I'm giving 10 to the other. And the same thought process, if I'm giving $20 to one, I'm giving 20 to the other. So maybe I thought it was 10-10, but then again, no, 20-10. Now, this may be jarring for some because now I'm having this internal conversation. Many people don't have this, but also this is me communicating with God. Some may question whether or not it's an audible voice, but this is my experience. You can take with it what you want. But this is the conversation I had with God. So I said, why the difference? Internally again. And the word that came back to me was so simple and clear. And the word was equity. And I don't know what either of these men were able to sow into the world prior to finding themselves in a position they were in. I don't know the history. I don't know their disobedience or unseen obedience. I don't know their private struggles. I don't know anything. And that's the point. I'm not supposed to know. because my job is obedience. But what I do know, this is biblical, you reap what you sow. And that morning, I was reminded that equality and equity are not the same thing. What struck me most wasn't the money. I think it was the instruction, the guidance, right, that I received. Because fairness would have been easy. 10-10 felt easy, clean, simple, balanced, understandable. But obedience doesn't always feel symmetrical. What's the phrase? Favor ain't fair. Sometimes God will instruct you in a way that disrupts your sense of fairness. Not because he's unfair, but because he's operating with information you don't have. And that requires trust. I wasn't being asked to evaluate whether or not there was truth or validity in a statement or their path, what led them there. That wasn't my role. I wasn't being asked to rank their humanity. I was being asked to participate in something that I couldn't fully see. And that's often what faith is. Participation without full disclosure. There are moments in life where you won't understand why one door opens wider than the other. Why one season feels like it's an overflow and the other one feels like it's a drought. Why someone receives something quickly while the other has to wait much longer. We aren't always privy to the deposits, but God is. And equity suggests that something has been invested somewhere else, not necessarily publicly. You know, some deposits we actually don't see. Now, financial, yeah, you get the slip, hand it to the teller, throw it in the ATM, grab the cash, put it in the machine, be on your way. But spiritual deposits, they're quieter. Every time you hold your tongue, every time you choose discipline over impulse, every time you decide to be compassionate and kind and warm when it's so much easier to be cold and withdrawn, every time you show up consistently when no one is applauding, the character that no one sees, those are deposits. Equity builds slowly and it accumulates. And life will eventually test your balance. It will withdraw from your patience, your faith, your stability. It will withdraw from your endurance. The question then becomes, what account is it pulling from? Are you opening from reserves? Are you operating from reserves or from reaction? Because I've had seasons when I was running on spiritual overdraft, expecting peace I hadn't been practicing, expecting grace I wasn't extending, expecting harvest, and I know I hadn't sown. And that's not condemnation, that's awareness. It's honesty. God's economy isn't punitive, it's cyclical. It's not punishment, it's process. What you pour shapes what you can return. Now, is it just based off of what you give and receive? No. Grace is not earned. God's love surely isn't. But when we operate in that space, we are opening up ourselves to greater blessings and opportunities for the equity to be returned. So after that walk, I wasn't focused on the two men anymore. I started asking myself, what am I building? Am I slowly building in integrity? When it costs me something, am I depositing peace daily? Am I moving in consistency? Because quiet equity doesn't build through grand gestures. It's repetition. It's obedience. It's discipline. It's quiet yeses. And maybe it looks like forgiving someone who never apologized. Maybe it looks like staying steady when you want to perform. Maybe it's declining the shortcut because you're committed to the reward. And here's what I love about this lesson. Equity can be rebuilt. If you've ever been reactive, inconsistent, if you withdrawn without making any deposits, there's still an opportunity to deposit today. Every decision towards this counts. So I ask you what I've been asking myself. What's your equity? not in status, salary, position, and spirit. Because life will ask something of you. And when it does, what you've sown will determine what you can sustain. Okay? Okay. So please remember that your unseen deposits determine your sustainable overflow. Grace is not earned. Love is given freely, but your equity still matters. If nothing else, I want to encourage you to stay methodical, stay magical, and never forget that the only thing that lasts are the beautiful lessons. I'll see you guys next week.